Just when you thought the Casey Anthony murder trial could not get more bizarre, the prosecution put a witness on the stand who appeared to contradict the testimony of Casey's mother. Both sides rested their case on Friday, and closing arguments will begin tomorrow. 48 Hours mystery correspondent Troy Roberts has more.
State may call the next witness.
On the last day of testimony in the case against Casey Anthony, another bombshell. Prosecution attorneys set out to prove her mother, Cindy, lied under oath. Last week, Cindy Anthony claimed she performed searches on the family computer for chloroform, a substance found in Casey's trunk, and the prosecution alleges the possible means by which 2-year-old Kaylee died. On Friday, witnesses said Cindy couldn't have done it, that only Casey could have run the incriminating searches made weeks before her daughter died.
The smell of this evidence has been the feature of this whole thing.
Proving premeditation could be vital to a prosecution case hindered by a lack of direct evidence. There is no smoking gun, no witness to the crime, and no official cause of death, a point the defense capitalized on in the opening statements.
Defense Exhibit D-O.
The defense claims Kaylee drowned in the family swimming pool and that George Anthony helped Casey hide the body. But only one witness supported the accidental death scenario, George's alleged former mistress.
And he told me it was an accident that snowballed out of control.
On the stand, George repeatedly denied the affair, the drowning, and allegations that he molested Casey, all points the defense made at the start of the trial. The only other person who could have verified those claims was Casey herself, and she refused to testify.
It is your decision not to testify.
Yes, sir.
Cannot possibly.
With holes in both the prosecution and defense, the jury will have to decide which side was able to plug more of them. Troy Roberts, CBS News, New York.
And joining us now is legal analyst and criminologist Casey Jordan. Casey, good to see you again.
Good morning.
In a case that becomes more bizarre by the day, what struck you about this latest testimony?
Well, two big things, and I told you this last week. We were very sure that Cindy Anthony was lying about doing those computer searches on chloroform, and yesterday the state brought this little army of laser-sharp witnesses that said she had to have been at work that day, including the general counsel of the company she worked for, that explained about the time cards and her computer logins, and on the day she said she searched for chloroform, she was at work. Not only that, we have her nurse supervisor explain that she couldn't have had time off in the middle of the day. And then finally, we had forensic evidence that showed that the brain dust, for lack of a better word, that they had said had to have been the result of a bad autopsy and made the question of whether she was, little Kaylee was the victim of an accident, inorganic material, just plain sediment from all the flooding. So really a great day for the state.
Let's talk about Casey Anthony refusing to testify. I know you've been back and forth on this, but what does that say to a jury when the defendant does not testify?
Well, remember, the judge is going to remind them that she didn't have to testify, and in fact, that was part of their voir dire. And yet, because of the opening statement, they had been spending 5 or 6 weeks expecting her to testify. When it didn't happen, everyone was disappointed because the defense had raised a level of expectation. It's true they don't have to prove anything, but they had put out this fact pattern, this scenario, and then they failed to corroborate it in any way. Only Casey Anthony could have done that. And when she didn't take the stand, most people think that the defense case has really kind of crumbled.
What can we expect to hear, do you think, during tomorrow's closing arguments?
You're going to hear some very organized arguments about the evidence, because the evidence can fall in either direction depending on your perspective. And we know the state is going to get there and go methodically through all of the facts that they're going to say support first-degree murder. And then you're going to have the defense say they haven't proved it, they didn't prove the cause of death, they have never really refuted the accident scenario, they haven't proved she didn't drown, and then you just have to leave it with the jury to decide which side they're really leaning towards.
There's that phrase, of course, reasonable doubt, which is all the defense has to prove. When you look at this case, and you've been following it from the very beginning, do you think the defense did a good job at trying to prove that?
I think the defense made some really bad tactical errors with that opening statement. I think they would have done much better to just present some kind of accident scenario without painting a picture of how it happened. They did not address the 31 days in which Casey Anthony never reported her daughter missing. And even under their scenario, they never explained it away with the allegations of sexual abuse. That never came up. So this jury is still left with perhaps some doubt, but is it reasonable? All of their questions and the scenario that was laid out by the defense was never really shown to them. They don't know what happened to Kaylee, but it's really down to which side can convince this jury that it fits their scenario.
Casey, very quickly, which way do you expect this case to go at the end of the day?
I think the jury's going to compromise and go with aggravated manslaughter. But then again, after yesterday, I think first degree came back to the table. This jury may really want to hold Casey Anthony responsible for the murder of her daughter.
Okay. Casey Jordan, I'm sure we'll talk again. Thank you so much.
Hopefully
Appreciate
next
it.
week.